Hi there, I'm Tony Lee, and this is Hot Flasher, your daily menopause podcast that serves up fresh news, research, and wellness tips. I've built a daily news pipeline to find the latest on women's health and menopause research. Allow me to introduce my co-host, Nikki, who handles the headlines. Take it away, Nikki.
Thanks, Tony. We've got a lot to get into today. 35 workdays. Let's start there. Fast Company picked up new research this week, putting a number on what perimenopause and menopause symptoms actually cost workers in a year. Not just sick days, lost productivity across the board. Women showing up, sitting at their desks, and functioning at a fraction of their capacity because they were up 4 times in the night. Or because a hot flash hit during a meeting. Or because the brain fog was thick enough that a task that normally takes 20 minutes took 2 hours. The number they landed on is 34.7 days per year. Call it 35. That's 7 full work weeks if you spread it across a year. And that's per person. Now, when I look at a number like that, my first instinct is to check the methodology, because a figure that big and that clean tends to get laundered through a press release before it reaches a headline. The Fast Company piece doesn't go deep on the study design, so I want to be honest that I can't fully vet the methodology from what's publicly available. What I can say is that the 35-day figure is consistent with findings from other productivity loss research on chronic conditions, and it's also consistent with what the menopause and perimenopause communities have been documenting in their own words for years. Women describing having to pull over on the way to work. Women talking about asking colleagues to take notes in meetings because they couldn't hold a thought. The number feels credible because the experiences it's trying to quantify are well documented. What I think matters most about this framing isn't actually the number, it's the category. For years, menopause has been treated as a private health matter, something a woman manages on her own time, at her own expense, without it being anyone else's concern. The workplace conversation is changing that framing. When you can put a productivity cost on something, employers start paying attention in a way they don't when it's just about a woman's comfort or quality of life. That's a frustrating reality, but it's the reality. If the economic argument is what finally gets companies to take menopause support seriously, flexible scheduling, better insurance coverage for treatment, workplace wellness programs that actually include this, then I'll take it. The piece also points out that a lot of this productivity loss is what researchers call presenteeism. You're there, you're just not fully there. That distinction matters because absenteeism gets tracked. Presenteeism is invisible. Nobody's counting the hours spent staring at a screen waiting for a brain fog to lift. The real cost is probably higher than 35 days. Sleep is the through line here, by the way. And that brings me to something published in PubMed this month that I think deserves more attention than it's getting. A paper by Zhang, published in August 2026, is framing menopausal insomnia as what the researchers call a modifiable node in the chain leading to dementia risk. Strip the jargon. They're saying that the sleep problems that come with menopause aren't just miserable in the moment. They may be one of the actual mechanisms by which menopause increases dementia risk. And because it's modifiable, meaning it's something that can potentially be addressed, it's a lever worth paying attention to. Here's why this matters mechanically. During deep sleep, the brain runs what you could think of as its overnight cleaning crew. There's a system, the glymphatic system, that flushes out waste products, including the proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. When sleep is fragmented or insufficient, that cleanup doesn't happen properly. The proteins accumulate. Over time, that accumulation is part of what researchers believe contributes to cognitive decline. Menopause disrupts sleep through multiple routes at once. Hot flashes wake you up. Estrogen and progesterone changes affect your sleep architecture directly. Mood changes like anxiety can make it hard to fall asleep in the first place. So you have a period of life where sleep problems are extremely common. layered on top of a period of life where the brain is already navigating hormonal shifts that affect cognition. The Zhang paper is essentially arguing that sleep isn't just a symptom to manage, it's a potential target for reducing long-term risk. My position on this? I think this research is directionally important even though it's one paper. The glymphatic connection to Alzheimer's is not new. That's been in the literature for years. What's newer is the specific focus on menopause-related sleep disruption as a distinct risk window. That focus is valuable because it makes sleep during this life stage feel urgent in a different way. Not, I'd really like to sleep better, but this is a window that matters. What this paper does not do, and the headline version of this story can slide right past this, is prove that fixing your sleep during menopause will prevent dementia. The mechanisms are plausible and the correlations are real, but we don't have long-term intervention trials showing that, say, treating your insomnia with CBTI or addressing night sweats with hormone therapy will measurably reduce your dementia risk 20 years from now. That study hasn't been done yet. So the framing I'd use is, the evidence is strong enough that this is worth taking seriously, not strong enough to make promises. If there's one practical thing to take from the Zhang paper, it's that sleep problems during perimenopause and menopause are not a cosmetic issue. They're not something to white knuckle through because you don't want to bother your doctor. They deserve a real conversation and real treatment options. There's a paper in the NAMS journal, the Journal of the North American Menopause Society, that I want to make sure gets airtime today because it's covering something the field has been almost entirely silent on. The paper looks at the intersection of intimate partner violence and menopause care. And before you move past that, this is not a niche topic. Roughly 1 in 4 women experiences intimate partner violence at some point in her life. The perimenopausal and menopausal years, which often fall in a woman's 40s and 50s, can be a period of relationship stress, financial stress, and life transition that is known to be associated with elevated risk. These are not separate populations. The paper doesn't have an abstract available publicly, so I'm working from what I can piece together through the NAMS publication context and the surrounding literature. But the core issue is one that's been documented in adjacent research. Abuse affects the body in ways that directly overlap with menopause symptoms. Chronic stress dysregulates cortisol and other hormones. It wrecks sleep. It can make hot flashes worse. It affects a woman's ability to access healthcare consistently, and it shapes what she feels safe disclosing to a provider. A woman in an abusive situation may not be able to fill a prescription without her partner knowing. She may not be able to attend follow-up appointments. She may present to her doctor with symptoms that are genuinely difficult to pass. Is the sleep disruption perimenopause? Is it PTSD? Is it both? And if her provider doesn't know to ask about safety, they may treat the surface level symptom and miss what's driving it. Clinicians currently receive almost no training on this overlap. A doctor treating a menopausal woman is not routinely screening for intimate partner violence, and a provider working with a domestic violence survivor is not necessarily thinking about how the hormonal changes of this life stage are compounding her physical experience. The systems don't talk to each other. The fact that the NAMS journal published this is meaningful. It signals that the field is starting to recognize that menopause care cannot be purely biological. It has to account for the social and safety context a woman is living in. That's not a radical idea. It's just one that medicine is slow to act on. I hope this paper gets picked up by training programs. Not because it solves anything, one paper doesn't, but because naming the overlap is the first step toward building clinical protocols that actually address it.
Thanks for listening to Hot Flasher. We're back tomorrow with more, so don't forget to subscribe. See you tomorrow.